There is a moment just before disaster when everything is still perfect. August 19th, 2024. Off the coast of Sicily, a 56-meter superyacht lies at anchor. £30 million sterling. Award-winning design. One of the tallest masts in the world. Inside, some of the most powerful people in European finance. A tech billionaire who just walked free from a fraud trial that could have ended his life. His daughter. His closest allies. All of them celebrating a victory years in the making. By dawn, 7 of them are dead. Trapped inside a yacht that sank in 16 minutes. On a night when 4 other vessels nearby rode out the same storm and survived. This is the dark story of the Bayesian Disaster. 7 trapped in a billionaire's yacht. We're going to cover everything. Who was on board and why. What the yacht was designed to withstand. What the crew saw. What the investigators found. And what still doesn't add up. Because everyone was present. Everything was recorded. The wreck was raised and examined for months. And still the questions remain. Was this weather? Or was this something else? August 15th, 2024. Palermo, Sicily. The Bayesian is berthed at the marina, drawing stairs. She always does. 56 meters from stem to stern. That's 184 feet for those still working in Imperial. She is not the largest yacht in the Mediterranean that summer, but she is among the most elegant. Perini Navi built her in 2008 under the name Salute. 16 years old, but meticulously maintained. Refitted in 2016 with updated navigation systems, a redesigned salon, and interiors that won her Best Interior at the Super Yacht Society Awards in 2008. The design is Japanese-inspired minimalism. Not the cliché kind, the expensive kind. The kind where every surface is teak or stone or brushed steel, and the leather is from Hermes, and the light fixtures are custom-made in Milan. There are no visible screws, no plastic, no shortcuts. The master suite has a private jacuzzi set into teak decking, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows that open onto the aft deck. The dining salon seats 12 beneath a retractable skylight. The galley is stainless steel and marble, outfitted for a chef trained at Michelin-starred kitchens. Below deck, 9 guest cabins. Each one could pass for a 5-star hotel suite. Above deck, the flybridge, the navigation helm, the sunbathing platform at the stern where you can lie on cushions the size of mattresses and watch the wake dissolve into the horizon. She carries a crew of 12. Captain, first mate, engineer, 2 deckhands, 2 stewards, chef, sous chef, 2 housekeepers, a bosun. Most of them have worked together for years. They know the yacht the way surgeons know an operating theater. Every hatch, every valve, every emergency protocol. And they know the owner, Mike Lynch, 60 years old, British. Technically, he is a tech entrepreneur, but that word does not capture the scale. He founded Autonomy Corporation in 1996, a software company specializing in data analytics and pattern recognition. By 2011, Autonomy was valued at over $11 billion. Hewlett-Packard bought it for that sum, one of the largest tech acquisitions in history. Then it all went wrong. HP accused Lynch of cooking the books, fraud, inflated revenue, misrepresented contracts, the kind of allegations that end careers and freedom. The U.S. Department of Justice indicted him. Extradition hearings, a trial in San Francisco, 15 counts. If convicted, he faced 25 years in a federal prison. But in June of 2024, a jury acquitted him. Not on a technicality, a full acquittal. 12 jurors, unanimous, not guilty on all counts. He walked out of that courthouse a free man. And 2 months later, he invited his closest allies aboard the Bayesian to celebrate. Among them, his wife, Angela Baccaris. His daughter, Hannah Lynch, 18 years old, about to start university. His longtime friend and legal advisor, Chris Morvillo, a partner at a major law firm who helped orchestrate the defense. Morvillo's wife, Nita. Jonathan Bloomer, chairman of Morgan Stanley International, who testified as a character witness during the trial. Bloomer's wife, Judith. A handful of other friends. Close circle. People who stood by him when half the business world had written him off. This is not a commercial charter. This is not a corporate junket. This is a private voyage. Intimate, celebratory. The kind of trip where you toast with crystal, not Prosecco. Where the chef prepares your favorite dishes without being asked because he has studied your preferences over years of service. The Bayesian departs Palermo on the afternoon of August 15th. Clear skies, light wind, the kind of Mediterranean summer day that justifies the entire concept of yachting. The captain plots a course east along the Sicilian coast, staying within sight of land, but far enough out to catch the breeze. No destination in mind. Just drift. Explore. Anchor in quiet coves. Swim. Eat. Relax. For 4 days, that is exactly what happens. And life aboard a superyacht is a peculiar kind of isolation. You are surrounded by water, yes, but also by luxury so complete that it becomes a kind of narcotic. Every need anticipated. Every discomfort smoothed away. You wake to the smell of coffee brewed exactly as you like it. Breakfast is served on the aft deck. Fresh pastries, fruit, eggs cooked to order. The sun is warm, but not oppressive. There is always a breeze. You swim off the stern platform. The water is clear enough to see 20 feet down. Afterward, a steward hands you a towel that has been warmed. You do not ask how. You do not need to ask. The system is invisible. Lunch is served at 1. Grilled fish. Salads. Wine chilled to 14 degrees Celsius. You eat under an awning that shields you from the sun, but not the view. The coastline slides past, green hills and white villages perched on cliffs. You talk, you laugh. You tell stories about the trial, about the lawyers, about the moment the verdict was read, and you realized it was over. Hannah Lynch, 18, sits with her father and listens. She has heard some of these stories before, but not like this. Not with the weight lifted. She watches him smile in a way he has not smiled in years. Jonathan Bloomer and his wife Judith sit nearby. Bloomer is 65, silver-haired, the kind of man who wears linen shirts even in board meetings. He has known Lynch for decades, testified on his behalf, put his own reputation on the line. Now, he raises a glass and says something about justice, about resilience, about the importance of standing by your friends. Lynch raises his glass in return. He does not say much. He does not need to. The fact that they are here, on this yacht, in this moment, is the statement. The days blur. Anchor in a cove near Cefalù. Swim. Sunbathe. Dinner at 8. Risotto, lamb, tiramisu. Wine from a vineyard in Tuscany that you have never heard of because it does not export. The chef knows the owner personally. After dinner, the group moves to the salon. The skylight is open. Stars overhead. Music playing softly. Someone mentions the trial again, but not in a heavy way, just in passing. The way you mention a surgery you survived. It happened. It's over. You are here now. At night, the yacht is nearly silent. The engines hum, a low frequency you feel more than hear. The water against the hull is a whisper. If you stand on deck, you can hear the rigging tapping gently against the mast. The stars are absurd. No light pollution. Just the Milky Way, stretched overhead like a scar. Hannah Lynch stands on the foredeck one night, looking up. Her father joins her. They do not talk much. They do not need to. She is 18. About to start the rest of her life. He is 60. About to start his again. They go below. Sleep. The yacht sails on. By August the 19th, the Bayesian is anchored off Porticello, a small fishing village on the northern coast of Sicily. The town has fewer than 4,000 residents. The harbour is too small for a yacht this size, so the Bayesian sits a few hundred meters offshore, stern to the wind, bow facing the open sea. It is a common anchoring position, safe. The seabed here is sand and rock, good holding. The weather forecast is benign. Light winds, partly cloudy, no warnings, no advisories. The evening of the 19th is warm. Dinner is served at 8:30. Swordfish, pasta with sea urchin. A Barolo that cost more per bottle than most people spend on groceries in a month. The conversation is relaxed. Someone mentions returning to Palermo in a day or two. Someone else suggests sailing south toward the Aeolian Islands. No decisions are made. There is no rush. After dinner, the group lingers in the salon. The skylight is open. A breeze moves through. One of the stewards brings coffee. Espresso, served in porcelain cups that weigh almost nothing. By 11, people begin to retire. Hannah Lynch goes to her cabin on the lower deck. Her parents stay up a bit longer, talking with the Bloomers. By midnight, the salon is empty. The chef is cleaning the galley. The stewards are tidying up. The captain is on the bridge, checking instruments. The first mate is on deck, performing the evening round. Everything is in order. The barometric pressure is 1,013 millibars. Normal. The wind is from the southeast, 6 knots. Calm. The sea state is 1 on the Douglas scale. Smooth. The kind of night where you could leave a glass of wine on the rail and it would not spill. At 12:30, the captain retires. He leaves the first mate on watch with instructions to wake him if the wind picks up or if anything changes. Standard procedure. The first mate settles into the helm chair. The bridge is dark except for the glow of the navigation screens. Radar, AIS, wind speed, engine diagnostics, everything nominal. Below deck, the yacht is silent. The hum of the generators, the faint creak of wood and metal. The Bayesian breathes like a living thing. She has been at anchor for hours. She will be at anchor for hours more. There is no reason to think otherwise. At 1:15 in the morning, the wind shifts, not dramatically, just a few degrees. From southeast to south. The first mate notices. He makes a note in the log. Wind speed is still low. 7 knots now. Nothing unusual. At 1:30, the wind shifts again. South to southwest. Speed increases to 12 knots. The first mate stands, walks out onto the bridge wing, looks at the sky. Clouds moving in from the west, thicker than before. He goes back inside, checks the radar. A small system forming about 20 kilometers offshore. Moving east. Fast. He considers waking the captain. But the wind is still manageable. The anchor is holding. The yacht is designed for far worse than this. At 1:45, the wind speed hits 20 knots. The Bayesian begins to swing on her anchor. Slowly at first, then faster. The first mate is on the bridge wing again, watching the shore lights rotate as the yacht pivots. This is normal. Boats swing with the wind. But something about the speed of the shift bothers him. He goes back inside, activates the engine, not to move, just to stand by, in case the anchor drags. At 2:03 in the morning, the wind hits 40 knots. There is a sound a yacht makes when the wind turns violent. It is not a creak or a groan. It is a high-pitched whistle, metal under stress, rigging vibrating at frequencies that you feel in your teeth. The Bayesian is making that sound now. The first mate grabs the radio, calls the captain. The captain is on the bridge in under 90 seconds, no shoes, wearing shorts and a t-shirt. He looks at the instruments. Wind speed 42 knots, gusts to 50. The radar shows the system directly overhead now, a tight spiral of red and yellow. The captain orders the crew on deck. All hands. Wake the guests. Get everyone into life jackets. The deckhands are moving fast, but not panicking. Not yet. They have been through storms before. The Bayesian has been through storms before. She is a Perini Navi, one of the best-built sailing yachts in the world. Displacement tonnage 473. Keel ballast 180 tons of lead. Center of gravity low. She should be stable even in heavy weather. But the wind is still climbing. At 2:12, it hits 60 knots. The yacht heels. Port side dipping. Not far, maybe 10 degrees. Enough that objects start sliding. A wine glass left on the salon table crashes to the floor. In the cabins below, people are waking up. Not from the crew. From the motion. The angle. Hannah Lynch sits up in her bed. The yacht is tilting. She hears something sliding across the floor of her cabin. She stands, barefoot, trying to find her balance. The floor is no longer level. Her father is already moving. He is in the hallway outside her cabin, knocking on doors. His voice is calm but urgent. Get up. Life jackets. Now. The crew is handing out life jackets in the salon. The guests are filing in, confused, scared. Some are still in pajamas. Judith Bloomer is asking what is happening. The captain is on the radio, trying to raise the Italian Coast Guard. The transmission is broken by static. At 2:16, the wind hits 70 knots. The Bayesian heels further. 20 degrees now. The angle is wrong. Objects are not sliding anymore. They are falling, crashing. In the galley, pots and pans tumble from their racks. In the salon, chairs tip over. Someone screams. The captain is shouting orders. Reef the sails. Start the main engine. Turn into the wind. But the yacht is not responding the way she should. The helm feels sluggish. Heavy. Something is wrong. At 2:19, a wave hits the port side. Not the largest wave. Maybe 4 meters. But the timing is catastrophic. The yacht is already heeled, already off balance. The wave strikes just as a gust hits 75 knots. The Bayesian rolls to 30 degrees. Water pours over the deck, through open hatches, through vents, into the salon. Someone is shouting to close the doors, but there is no time. The water is inside now, cold, moving fast. Mike Lynch is holding his daughter. They are at the base of the salon stairs, trying to reach the upper deck. Jonathan Bloomer is behind them, gripping the railing. The yacht rolls further. At 2:21, the Bayesian passes 45 degrees. That is the angle where recovery becomes uncertain, where physics stops being your ally. The keel is designed to pull the yacht upright, but only if the center of gravity stays below the center of buoyancy. If water floods the interior, if the weight shifts, the equations change. The captain knows this. He is screaming into the radio now. Mayday! 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 But the electrical system is failing. The lights flicker. The radio cuts out. At 2:23, the Bayesian capsizes. Not slowly. Fast. Like a door slamming. One moment, the deck is angled. The next, it is vertical. People are thrown, sliding, crashing into walls that are now floors. Water is everywhere, rushing through doorways, filling cabins. On deck, 2 crew members are swept overboard. They hit the water and surface, gasping, surrounded by debris. The life raft has deployed automatically, inflating in the chaos. They swim for it, grab the ropes, pull themselves in. Below deck, the yacht is flooding. The salon is underwater. The cabins are filling. Mike Lynch is trying to reach the upper deck. But the stairs are now a vertical shaft. Water pouring down. His daughter is somewhere behind him. He cannot see her. He is shouting her name. At 2:26, the Bayesian rolls completely inverted, keel pointing at the sky. Hull above water. She floats like that for a few seconds, long enough for the crew in the life raft to see her, silhouetted against the lightning. Then she begins to sink, not all at once. Slowly. Stern first. The water pouring in through every opening. In less than 4 minutes, she is gone. The storm continues. The sea is black. The crew in the life raft are calling out, hoping to hear voices. They hear nothing. By 3 in the morning, the wind begins to ease. By 4, it is down to 30 knots. By 5, the sky is clearing. At 6:15, the Italian Coast Guard arrives. They find the life raft. 15 survivors, crew and 1 guest, injured, hypothermic, incoherent. They are asking about the others, about the people who were below deck. The Coast Guard radios for divers. At 8:30, they locate the wreck, 50 meters down, lying on its side, hull intact. Inside, they will find 7 bodies. The distress call lasts 9 seconds. Not 9 minutes, 9 seconds. From the moment the first mate keys the radio to the moment the transmission cuts to static. 9 seconds in which a human voice attempts to compress catastrophe into language that someone, somewhere can act upon. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Motor yacht Bayesian. Position 38 degrees north, 013 degrees east. Capsizing. Require immediate and then nothing. The Italian Coast Guard station at Palermo receives the transmission at 2:20 in the morning. The operator tries to respond, calls back, no answer, tries again, nothing. The position is logged. A rescue helicopter is dispatched. Estimated time to arrival, 40 minutes. But 40 minutes in a maritime emergency is a geological time frame. Continents can shift. Oceans can swallow entire vessels. The helicopter lifts off at 2:37. By then, the Bayesian has been underwater for 11 minutes. The pilot flies east along the coast, scanning the darkness. The storm is still active. Rain sheeting across the windscreen. Visibility near 0. The searchlight cuts through the darkness, illuminating whitecaps, debris, nothing. At 3:05, the crew spots something. A strobe light. Flashing orange. The international signal for a life raft. They circle. Radio the Coast Guard cutter that is approaching from the south. The cutter arrives at 3:23. Crew deploy a rigid inflatable boat. They approach the life raft carefully. The sea is still rough. Waves 2 meters. Wind gusting to 30 knots. Inside the raft, 15 people. Soaked. Shivering. Some are crew, recognizable by their uniforms. Others are passengers. A woman in a nightgown. A man in boxer shorts and a life jacket. They are pulled aboard the inflatable, one by one. They do not speak. Some are crying. One man is staring at the horizon, blank, unresponsive. The Coast Guard officer asks where the yacht is. One of the crew members, a deckhand, points down. Just points. Straight down. The officer does not understand at first. He asks again. The deckhand's voice is hoarse. Gone. She's gone. Sank. The officer radios the cutter. Requests dive support. Requests additional vessels. Requests everything. By 4 in the morning, the storm has passed. The sky is lightening in the east. The sea is calm now. Almost absurdly calm. As if nothing happened, but the surface is littered with debris. Cushions, pieces of teak, a life jacket, deflated, a bottle, still sealed. The survivors are transferred to the cutter, wrapped in thermal blankets, given water. A medic checks vitals. One passenger, a woman in her 50s, is hypothermic. Core temperature 34 degrees Celsius. She is shaking uncontrollably. They start warming her slowly. Too fast, and the heart can stop. The captain of the Bayesian is among the survivors. He is sitting on the deck of the cutter, head in his hands. A Coast Guard officer approaches, asks what happened. The captain does not look up. He says one word, fast. At 8:30 in the morning, a dive team arrives from the naval base at Augusta. 6 divers, commercial-grade rebreathers, underwater lights, sonar mapping equipment. They are briefed by the Coast Guard. Yacht sank approximately 6 hours ago. Last known position confirmed by GPS from the distress call. Depth estimated at 50 meters. 7 persons unaccounted for. The divers enter the water at 9:15. Visibility is good. 15 meters. The sun is up now, light filtering down through the water in shafts. At 30 meters they see it. The Bayesian. Lying on her port side on the seabed. Hull intact. Keel pointing east. The mast is broken, snapped near the base, lying across the sand like a fallen tree. The lead diver approaches slowly. The yacht is immense underwater, 56 meters long. Displacement 473 tons. At this depth, it looks like a building. A building that has fallen over. Windows dark, hatches closed. The diver shines his light through one of the portholes. Sees furniture. A table. Chairs bolted to the floor, but tilted at 90 degrees. He surfaces. Reports to the command boat. Wreck located. Structurally intact. No visible external damage. Preparing to enter. At 10:05, 2 divers enter through the aft deck hatch. It is open. Water has equalized inside. The interior is flooded. Dark. They move slowly, lights sweeping side to side. The salon is a chaos of debris. Cushions floating near the ceiling, which is now a wall. Bottles, books, a laptop suspended in the water. They move forward, through the galley, pots and pans scattered across what used to be the floor. A chef's knife embedded in the wall. They reach the stairwell leading to the lower deck. The stairs are now a vertical shaft. The divers descend. At the base, a corridor. Cabin doors. Some closed. Some open. They check the first cabin. Empty. The second. Empty. The third. A body. Female. Mid-60s. Life jacket on. She is floating near the ceiling, which was once the starboard wall. Her eyes are closed. The diver signals his partner. They do not touch her. Not yet. Protocol is to map first. Recover later. They continue. Fourth cabin. 2 bodies. Male. Female. Also in life jackets. Positioned near the door as if they were trying to get out. Fifth cabin. 1 body. Male. Older. 60s. No life jacket. He is wedged between the bed and the wall. Sixth cabin. 2 bodies. Male. Female. Younger. The female is 18 at most. She is lying on the floor, arms around the male. They are still. The divers surface at 11:40. Report to the command boat. 7 bodies located, all below deck. Appear to have been trapped when the vessel capsized. The recovery operation begins at 1 in the afternoon. It takes 6 hours. Each body is brought up carefully, placed in a bag, transferred to the Coast Guard cutter, logged, photographed, treated with the mechanical respect that emergency services reserve for the dead. By 7 in the evening, all 7 have been recovered. The bags are lined up on the deck of the cutter, covered with Italian flags. Someone has placed flowers. No one knows who. The bodies are identified later that night. Michael Richard Lynch, 60. Hannah Elizabeth Lynch, 18. Jonathan Bloomer, 65. Judith Bloomer, 63. Christopher Morvillo, 56. Neda Morvillo, 57. Ricaldo Thomas, chef, 59. The names are released to the press at midnight. By morning, the story is global. Wait, there is a particular kind of media response to a disaster involving the wealthy. It is not quite sympathy, not quite schadenfreude, something between. A fascination with the mechanics of how fortune failed to protect them. How money, which insulates from so many forms of suffering, could not insulate from this. The headlines write themselves. Tech billionaire dies celebrating acquittal. Super yacht sinks in minutes. Morgan Stanley, chairman among dead. The photographs accompany the text. Images of the Bayesian from happier times. Sailing off Sardinia. Anchored in Monaco. The sleek lines. the teak decks, the Italian flag at the stern. The tabloids go further. They dig into Lynch's life, the trial, the accusations, the $11 billion. Some frame it as tragedy. Others imply something else. A morality tale. Hubris. The man who thought he could calculate everything, killed by a storm no one predicted. The broadsheets are more restrained, but only slightly. They interview maritime experts, naval architects, meteorologists. Everyone wants to know, how does a 56-meter superyacht sink in 16 minutes? The experts are cautious. They say things like unprecedented weather event and rare combination of factors. They mention downbursts, microbursts, localized wind shear that can generate hurricane-force gusts in seconds. They mention the yacht's design. A sailing yacht. Tall mast. High center of gravity when heeled. They mention open hatches, water ingress, loss of stability. But none of them can fully explain it. Not yet, because the yacht is still underwater. The data recorders are still inside. The crew is still in shock. The Italian authorities open an investigation immediately. Not a routine inquiry. A criminal investigation. The Procura della Repubblica di Termini Imerese, the regional prosecutor's office, takes the lead. They classify the incident as a potential case of naufragio colposo, culpable shipwreck, manslaughter by negligence. 3 individuals are named as persons of interest, not charged, not arrested, but under investigation. The captain, the first mate, the engineer. The theory, preliminary and unconfirmed, is that human error may have contributed, that the crew failed to secure the yacht properly, that hatches were left open, that the response to the storm was inadequate. The captain, whose name is withheld under Italian privacy laws, is interviewed for 9 hours. His lawyer releases a statement. The captain is devastated. He cooperated fully with authorities. He maintains that the storm was unprecedented, that the crew acted appropriately, that the yacht was maintained to the highest standards. The first mate is interviewed separately. His account matches the captain's. The storm appeared without warning. The wind speed increased from 6 knots to 70 knots in under 30 minutes. There was no time to prepare. The engineer is asked about the yacht's condition. Had there been any mechanical issues? Any malfunctions? He says no. Everything was functioning normally. The engines responded. The bilge pumps activated. The yacht simply took on water faster than the systems could manage. But the prosecutors are not satisfied. They order a full forensic examination. They want the yacht raised, inspected, every system tested, every hatch examined, every protocol reviewed. On September 5th, 2024, a salvage operation begins. The contract goes to a Dutch firm specializing in deep water recovery. The cost is estimated at 15 million euros. Who pays is unclear. The yacht's insurer, presumably, or Lynch's estate, or both. The operation takes 3 weeks. A crane barge is positioned over the wreck site. Divers attach lift bags to the hull. Slowly, incrementally, the Bayesian is raised. At 40 meters, she breaks the surface. Water pours from every opening. At 20 meters, she is stabilized. At 10, she is secured to the barge. On September 27th, the Bayesian is towed into the port of Palermo. She is placed in a dry dock, normally reserved for cargo ships. The police cordon off the area. No press, no public, only investigators. The forensic team spends 2 months examining her. They start with the hull. No breaches, no cracks, no collision damage. The keel is intact. The rudder is intact. Structurally, the yacht is sound. They move to the interior, the salon, the cabins, the galley. Everything is photographed, measured, sampled. They find the hatches. Several were open at the time of sinking. Not unusual for a yacht at anchor on a calm night, but catastrophic once the storm hit. They examine the data recorders. The Bayesian, like most modern yachts, has multiple systems logging information: GPS, wind speed, engine performance, heel angle. The recorders are waterlogged but recoverable. A specialist firm in Germany extracts the data. The timeline is reconstructed. At 1:15 a.m., wind speed 6 knots. At 1:30, 12 knots. At 1:45, 20 knots. At 2:03, 40 knots. At 2:12, 60 knots. At 2:16, 70 knots. At 2:21, the heel angle passes 45 degrees. At 2:23, the yacht capsizes. At 2:26, she sinks. Total elapsed time from first alarm to sinking: 23 minutes. Time from capsize to sinking: 3 minutes. The meteorologists are brought in. They analyze satellite data, weather radar, ocean buoys. They confirm what the crew reported. The storm was a downburst, a microburst, a column of cold air descending from a thunderstorm, hitting the surface and spreading outward in all directions. Wind speeds in a downburst can exceed 100 knots. They appear suddenly, dissipate quickly, and are nearly impossible to predict. On the night of August 19th, a downburst formed over the Tyrrhenian Sea, approximately 2 kilometers from the Bayesian's anchorage. It lasted 14 minutes. Peak wind speed, 85 knots, equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane. Localized to an area less than 5 kilometers across. The meteorologists say this type of event is rare, but not unknown. The Mediterranean experiences perhaps a dozen downbursts each summer. Most occur over open water, most affect no one. But the Bayesian was in the wrong place, at the wrong time. The prosecutors review the evidence, the forensic reports, the meteorological data, the crew interviews. In December 2024, they issue a preliminary finding. The storm was an act of God, unforeseen, unavoidable. However, the crew's response may have been insufficient. The investigation remains open. The captain's lawyer calls the finding outrageous, says the crew did everything possible, that no amount of preparation could have saved the yacht in those conditions. The families of the victims are divided. Some accept the explanation, others do not. They hire their own experts, naval architects, maritime lawyers. They want answers. They want accountability. But there is another question, a quieter one. The one that people ask in the comment sections of news articles, the one that gets discussed in yachting forums and marine safety conferences. The question is not what happened. The question is why. Why did the Bayesian sink when other yachts in the area did not? Because she was not alone that night. There were 4 other vessels anchored off Porticello, a fishing trawler, 2 motor yachts, a catamaran. All of them experienced the same storm. All of them were struck by the same winds. None of them sank. The fishing trawler lost an anchor, dragged 200 meters before the crew got the engine started, and motored into the wind. But she stayed afloat. The motor yachts, both smaller than the Bayesian, heeled significantly. One reported a 40-degree roll. But they recovered. Hatches were sealed. Crew was prepared. They rode it out. The catamaran, a 40-footer, barely noticed. Catamarans are inherently stable. Wide beam. Low center of gravity. The owner, a retired engineer from Denmark, said the wind was strong but manageable. He never considered abandoning ship. So why the Bayesian? The theories multiply. Some focus on the mast. The Bayesian's mast was 75 meters tall, one of the tallest freestanding masts in the world. Aluminum, carbon fiber rigging. Beautiful, elegant. But a 75-meter lever arm in 70-knot winds generates enormous force. If the yacht heeled and the sails were not fully reefed, that force could have been enough to capsize her. But the crew says the sails were reefed, fully furled. The yacht was under engine power. Others focus on the keel. The Bayesian had a lifting keel, retractable, designed to reduce draft for entering shallow harbors. When fully extended, the keel provided maximum stability. When retracted, much less. The question, was the keel extended that night? The crew says yes, standard procedure at anchor, keel fully down. But the data recorders do not log keel position, so there is no way to confirm. Still others focus on the modifications. The Bayesian was refitted in 2016. New engines, updated electronics, interior redesign. Some of the changes added weight, high in the yacht, in the superstructure. The question, did the refit compromise her stability? A naval architect is interviewed by the Times. He is diplomatic. He says the refit was certified by the appropriate authorities. The yacht met all classification society standards. But he also says that every modification changes the vessel's performance, and not always in predictable ways. He does not say the refit caused the sinking. He does not need to. The implication is clear. There is also the question of the crew's experience. The captain had 20 years at sea. Impeccable record. Multiple certifications. But most of his experience was in the Caribbean. Gentle trade winds, predictable weather. The Mediterranean, by contrast, is volatile. Storms form quickly. The sea is shallow, which makes waves steeper. The wind funnels through gaps in the coastline, creating turbulence. Had the captain underestimated the risk? Had he anchored too close to shore? Had he relied too much on the forecast, which gave no warning? These questions are not accusations. Not yet. But they circulate. In the press, in the investigation, in the minds of the families who are trying to understand how 7 people died on a yacht that cost £30 million. And then there is the silence. The crew, after their initial interviews, stops talking. On advice of counsel. The survivors, few as they are, give no statements. The families issue brief press releases. Grief, privacy, respect for the investigation. But the silence creates a vacuum. And vacuums fill with speculation. Some of it is absurd. Conspiracy theories, insurance fraud, sabotage. None of it credible. But some of the speculation is grounded. Questions about emergency drills, about life jacket accessibility, about whether the guests were adequately briefed on safety procedures. Because here is the thing, the Bayesian sank in 3 minutes. From capsize to gone, 180 seconds. In that time, 7 people could not get out. Why? Were the doors jammed? Were the passageways flooded too quickly? Were they disoriented in the darkness? Did they try to reach the upper deck and find the stairs now vertical, unclimbable? The divers who recovered the bodies noted their positions. Most were in cabins, some near doors. One couple was together, holding each other. They had life jackets on. They knew what was happening. They tried. But a yacht, when capsized, becomes a labyrinth. What was a hallway is now a pit. What was a door is now a hatch in the ceiling. In the dark. In the cold. With water rising. Disorientation is immediate. Panic is inevitable. And even if you reach a window, even if you break it, you are 50 meters underwater. You cannot swim that far. Not without equipment. Not without training. So they stayed. In the cabins. In the air pockets. Waiting. For what? Rescue. The yacht was sinking. There was no time. Or perhaps they believed it would stop. That the yacht would settle. That help would come. It did not. The Bayesian sank and took them with her, and the sea closed over the wreck like a door. The life raft holds 15 people, but it is designed for 12. They are packed shoulder to shoulder. Water sloshes around their feet, ankle deep, cold even in August. The raft is a sealed dome, orange fabric taut overhead, a single observation port facing the storm. Through it, they can see nothing. Rain, darkness, lightning that illuminates the waves for half a second before everything goes black again. Some are crew, the first mate, 2 deckhands, a steward, the chef's assistant. Others are passengers. Angela Baccaris, Mike Lynch's wife. She is not speaking. She is staring at the water inside the raft, watching it move with the swells. Her husband is not here. Her daughter is not here. Someone is crying. Quietly. A deckhand, 24 years old, Romanian. He keeps saying something in his language. No one answers. Maybe no one speaks Romanian. Maybe they are too exhausted to answer. The captain is near the entrance flap, peering out through the small window. He is looking for lights, for the yacht, for anything. But the Bayesian is gone. He knows this. He watched her go down. Bow first, sliding under the surface with almost no sound. Just the hiss of air escaping. And then nothing. He closes the flap, sits back. Someone asks him what happens now. He does not answer immediately. Protocol is to stay with the raft. Activate the emergency beacon. Wait for rescue. The beacon activated automatically when the raft deployed. It is transmitting. Someone will come. But when? The storm is still raging. Visibility is 0. No helicopter can fly in this. No boat can safely approach. They have to wait. Wait for the wind to drop. Wait for dawn. Wait. Angela Baccaris speaks for the first time. Her voice is hoarse. She asks if anyone saw her husband. If anyone saw Hannah? The captain looks at her. Says they were below deck. In the salon. When the yacht heeled, he tried to reach them, but the water came too fast. She does not respond, just nods. Once. Then looks away. The raft rocks violently. A wave lifts it, carries it, drops it. Someone vomits. The smell is immediate, sour, sharp. In an enclosed space, it is overwhelming. But no one complains. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do but endure. At 3 a.m, the wind begins to ease. Not much. From 60 knots to 40. But enough that the motion of the raft becomes less violent, less chaotic. The waves are still large, but the interval between them lengthens. You can breathe between impacts. At 4, someone sees a light through the observation port. Distant, flashing, white, then red, then white again. A vessel. The captain opens the flap, pulls out a handheld flare from the emergency kit Velcro to the inside wall, strikes it. The flare ignites, brilliant red, hissing, throwing light across the water. He holds it high, waves it. 30 seconds. 60. The flare burns out. The light in the distance changes course, turns toward them. At 4:05, they hear an engine. Diesel. Low rumble cutting through the wind. Then voices, shouting in Italian. A spotlight sweeps across the water. Finds the raft. Locks on. A rigid inflatable boat approaches. Italian Coast Guard. 3 crew. They pull alongside the raft carefully. The sea is still rough. One wrong move and the boats could collide, capsize. But the crew is experienced. They tie off, open the raft's entrance flap. One by one, the survivors are transferred, helped across. Hands reaching, pulling. The Coast Guard crew does not ask questions. Not yet. They just get people into the boat. Wrap them in thermal blankets. Count heads. 15. The RIB turns. Heads toward the cutter, waiting 200 meters away. By the time they reach it, the sky is beginning to lighten in the east. Not sunrise, just the first gray of pre-dawn. Enough to see the surface of the water. The debris field. Cushions. Wood. A life jacket. A shoe. Angela Baccaris is lifted onto the cutter. A medic approaches, asks if she is injured. She shakes her head. The medic checks her pupils, takes her pulse. 130 beats per minute. He wraps her in another blanket, leads her below deck to the galley, sits her down, offers water. She does not drink. The captain is the last to board. A Coast Guard officer approaches, asks what happened. The captain tries to explain. The storm, the wind, the capsize. But his English is breaking down. The officer switches to Italian. The captain responds in halting Italian. Between them, they establish the basics. Yacht sank. 7 people missing. Presumed trapped inside. The officer radios headquarters. Requests dive support. Immediate. By 6:30, the storm has passed completely. The sea is calm. Almost glassy. The kind of calm that feels obscene after what just happened. The sun breaks the horizon. Light spills across the water, and there, floating on the surface, more debris. A teak table, a section of railing, a sailbag half submerged. But no people, no one calling for help. Just wreckage. The recovery of the bodies takes 6 hours, but the real work takes months. Each body is assigned a case number, photographed in situ underwater, photographed again on the surface, again in the morgue. The clothing is catalogued. The position is documented. Every detail recorded because in a criminal investigation, even the dead are evidence. The autopsies are conducted at the Institute of Legal Medicine in Palermo, a team of 3 forensic pathologists. They work methodically, 1 body per day. Each examination takes between 4 and 6 hours. The findings are technical, clinical, cause of death in all 7 cases, drowning. More specifically, asphyxiation due to aspiration of seawater. Time of death estimated between 2:30 and 3 a.m. on August 20th. Toxicology screens negative for alcohol and drugs in all subjects except 1. Ricaldo Thomas, the chef, had a blood alcohol content of 0.04%, below the legal limit, consistent with having consumed wine with dinner, but the details matter. The pathologists note the condition of the lungs. In cases of drowning, the lungs fill with water. They become heavy, waterlogged. The weight can double. In all 7 victims, the lungs showed classic drowning pathology, which means they were alive when the water reached them. Conscious, breathing. They drowned. They did not die of trauma. They did not hit their heads. They were not knocked unconscious. They were awake, and they drowned. The families receive the autopsy reports in October. Some of them request independent reviews, second opinions, not because they distrust the Italian authorities, but because they need to understand. Need to know whether there was suffering, whether it was fast. The independent pathologists confirm the findings, and they offer something the official reports do not. Context, explanation. When a person drowns, there is a sequence. First, breath holding, panic. The body's instinct is to not inhale water. You hold your breath as long as possible. For most people, that is between 60 and 90 seconds. Trained divers can extend it to 2 or 3 minutes. But eventually, the CO2 buildup becomes unbearable. The diaphragm spasms, and you inhale. Once water enters the lungs, the process accelerates. The oxygen exchange stops. Blood oxygen levels drop. Within seconds, you lose consciousness. Within minutes, brain death. Within 5 to 10 minutes, cardiac arrest. It is not, the pathologists say gently, a prolonged process. From the first inhalation of water to unconsciousness is usually less than a minute. There is panic. There is fear. But the suffering is brief. This is what the families are told. Whether it comforts them is another question. The funerals are held in September, 7 separate services, across 2 countries. The Lynches are buried in England, the Bloomers in England, the Morvillos in the United States, Ricaldo Thomas in Antigua, his birthplace. Mike Lynch's service is held in Suffolk, where he lived. The church is 12th century. Stone. Small. It seats perhaps 100 people. But thousands want to attend. Colleagues, employees, friends, people whose lives he touched. The family restricts attendance. Immediate family and close friends only. The press is kept outside, behind barriers. The eulogy is delivered by Lynch's brother. He speaks about Mike's brilliance, his generosity, his resilience. The way he fought the fraud charges for years, never wavering, never giving up. The way he was finally vindicated. The way he wanted to celebrate. To spend time with the people he loved. To sail. He does not mention the yacht by name. Does not describe the storm. Just says that Mike and Hannah were together at the end. That they were not alone. The congregation is silent. No one cries loudly. This is England. Grief is private. But you can hear it. In the breathing. In the way people shift in the pews. In the silence after the eulogy ends and no one moves. Hannah's friends from school are there. 18-year-olds in black dresses and ill-fitting suits. They sit together, holding hands. One of them reads a poem. Her voice breaks halfway through. She stops, breathes, continues, finishes, sits down. Angela Baccharis does not speak. She sits in the front row, flanked by family. She has not given an interview, has not released a statement. The only words attributed to her come from a family friend, published in The Guardian. She is devastated. She has lost everything. Jonathan Bloomer's service is in London, St. Paul's Cathedral, larger, more formal. Bloomer was a public figure, chairman of Morgan Stanley International, director of multiple boards. The service reflects that. Government ministers attend, CEOs, ambassadors. The Prime Minister sends a representative. The eulogies are careful. They praise Bloomer's career, his integrity, his leadership. They mention his family, his wife Judith, who died with him, their children, grandchildren. They do not dwell on the manner of death, just acknowledge it. A tragic accident, a terrible loss. But outside in the press, the questions continue. Why was Bloomer on the yacht? He was a character witness in Lynch's trial, yes. But was there more? Were they business partners? Did Bloomer have a financial stake in Lynch's companies? The speculation is fueled by the fact that both men died together, and by the fact that another passenger, Chris Morvillo, was Lynch's lawyer. 3 men, all connected by the trial, all dead. It feels like more than coincidence, like a conspiracy, like a story. But there is no conspiracy, just a storm, and a yacht, and bad luck. Chris Morvillo's funeral is in New York. His wife Nita's is the same day, same location, a joint service. They are buried side by side in a cemetery in Westchester. Morvillo was a partner at Clifford Chance, one of the world's largest law firms. The firm shuts down for the afternoon. Every partner attends. The senior partner delivers the eulogy. He speaks about Morvillo's career, his skill in the courtroom. The Lynch case was, he says, the pinnacle. A nearly impossible defense, 15 counts, millions of pages of evidence, and Morvillo got an acquittal, all counts, not guilty. He pauses, says that Chris was supposed to celebrate, that he earned it, that he and Nita deserved that trip, that vacation, that moment. His voice breaks. He stops. The congregation waits. He composes himself, finishes, sits. Neda Morvillo was a jewelry designer. Her work was featured in Vogue, in galleries in Soho. Her pieces were elegant, minimalist, expensive. At the service, several attendees wear her designs. Necklaces, bracelets, a quiet tribute. Their children, 2 daughters in their 20s, do not speak. They sit in the front row, holding each other. After the service, they release a statement. Brief, thanking everyone for their support, asking for privacy. And one line, our parents loved the sea. It is some comfort that they were together. By October, the investigation has shifted. The initial shock has faded. The funerals are over. The families are grieving in private. And the prosecutors in Italy are building a case. The 3 crew members under investigation, the captain, the first mate, the engineer, are each questioned again, separately, for hours. The questions are technical, detailed, specific. Was the keel extended? Yes. Were the hatches closed? Some were not. Which ones were open? The aft deck hatch, the galley vent, 2 portholes in the salon. Why were they open? Standard procedure at anchor. Ventilation. The night was warm. When did you realize the storm was approaching? Around 1:30 a.m. What did you do? Activated the engine, prepared to raise anchor if necessary. Monitored the wind. Did you wake the passengers? Not initially. The wind was manageable. When did you wake them? Around 2:15? When the wind exceeded 50 knots. Why not earlier? The storm intensified faster than anticipated. The prosecutors pressed this point. The crew had 45 minutes between the first signs of the storm and the capsize. Why did they wait so long to act? The captain's response is consistent. The forecast gave no warning. The radar showed a small system, not a severe storm. By the time they realized the danger, it was too late. But the prosecutors are not satisfied. They bring in a meteorologist, show the crew the satellite data, point to the cloud formation visible at 1 a.m., ask why the crew did not see it. The captain says the radar was set to a short range, focused on nearby vessels, not on weather. Why not switch to long range? The night was calm. There was no reason. The prosecutors suggest negligence, that a competent crew would have monitored weather continuously, that the storm was visible, predictable, avoidable. The captain's lawyer objects, calls the suggestion outrageous, points out that 4 other vessels in the area were caught by the same storm, that none of them predicted it, that this was a freak event. But the prosecutors counter. Those other vessels did not sink, only the Bayesian. Why? The lawyer has no answer, not one that satisfies. In November, the forensic examination of the yacht is completed. The findings are compiled into a report. 300 pages. Technical diagrams, photographs, metallurgical analysis, hydrodynamic modeling. The conclusion: the yacht was structurally sound. No defects, no failures. The keel was extended. The engines were operational. The bilge pumps were functional. But several hatches were open, including the aft deck hatch, which led directly to the salon. When the yacht heeled beyond 30 degrees, water entered through these openings, rapidly. The data recorders show the ingress rate, approximately 2,000 liters per minute. At that rate, the salon would flood in under 3 minutes. The lower deck, accessible via the salon stairs, would flood in under 6. The report estimates that the yacht had perhaps 10 minutes of stability after the initial water ingress. During that time, if the crew had sealed the hatches, activated all pumps, and corrected the heel, the yacht might have survived. Might. The word is important. The report does not say the yacht would have survived, just that it might have. Because the storm was still raging. The wind was still 70 knots. Another wave could have struck. Another gust. But the hatches were not sealed. The pumps were activated, but too late. And the yacht capsized. The prosecutors seize on this. Their theory: the crew was negligent. They failed to prepare the yacht for heavy weather. They left hatches open. They did not wake the passengers soon enough. They did not act decisively, and because of that, 7 people died. The defense counters: the storm was unprecedented. The crew acted reasonably given the information available. No amount of preparation could have prevented the sinking. But the prosecutors have the report, 300 pages of technical evidence, and they have the bodies. 7 people who drowned because the yacht sank. In December, formal charges are filed. 3 counts of manslaughter, 1 for the captain, 1 for the first mate, 1 for the engineer. The trial is scheduled for June 2025. But there is another investigation, quieter, less official. The families have hired their own experts, naval architects, maritime lawyers, accident reconstruction specialists. They want answers, not legal answers, real answers. Why did the Bayesian sink? The experts start with the design. The Bayesian was a Perini Navi, one of the most prestigious yacht builders in the world. Perini yachts are known for their sailing performance. Tall masts, large sail areas, speed. But tall masts create leverage. In high winds, that leverage can capsize a yacht, especially if the yacht is heeled. The Bayesian's mast was 75 meters tall. That is 246 feet, taller than a 20-story building. The mast weighed approximately 24 tons. Aluminum alloy, carbon fiber rigging. When the yacht heeled to 30 degrees, the mast's center of gravity shifted outboard. The righting moment, the force trying to bring the yacht upright, decreased. And if the yacht heeled beyond 45 degrees, the righting moment could go negative, meaning the yacht would not come back up. But the keel should have prevented that. The Bayesian's keel weighed 180 tons. Lead. Positioned as low as possible to maximize stability. The experts model this. Computer simulations. They input the yacht's dimensions. The mast height, the keel weight, the wind speed, the wave height. In 90% of simulations, the yacht recovers. In 10%, she capsizes. The difference? Water ingress. If water enters the hull, the weight distribution changes. The center of gravity rises. The righting moment decreases, and the yacht becomes unstable. In the simulations where the hatches are sealed, the yacht survives. In the simulations where the hatches are open, she capsizes. The families are shown the results. The message is clear. The crew's failure to seal the hatches was catastrophic. But there is another factor, one the official investigation does not emphasize: the refit. In 2016, the Bayesian underwent a major refit. New engines, new generators, updated electronics, and interior redesign. The redesign added weight, marble countertops in the galley, a larger jacuzzi in the master suite, additional furniture, heavier furnishings. The experts estimate the refit added approximately 12 tons, most of it high in the yacht, in the superstructure. 12 tons does not sound like much, but on a yacht, weight distribution is critical. Every ton added above the waterline reduces stability. The experts run the simulations again, this time including the refit weight. The percentage of simulations where the yacht capsizes increases, from 10% to 18%. Still not guaranteed, but no longer a freak occurrence, a real risk. The families ask the obvious question: was the refit certified? Did the Classification Society approve the changes? The answer is yes. The refit was certified by RINA, the Italian Naval Registry. The yacht met all stability standards, but the experts point out that classification societies test stability in calm water, not in 70-knot winds, not with open hatches, not in a downburst. The standards are designed for normal conditions, not extreme conditions, and the night of August 19th was not normal. The families consider legal action against the builder, against the refit yard, against the Classification Society, but their lawyers advise caution. Proving negligence is difficult. Proving causation is harder. The storm was extreme. The crew's actions were questionable. Isolating a single cause is nearly impossible. And even if they win, what do they gain? Money? They do not need money. They need answers. But the answers are elusive, fragmented, contradictory. Was it the storm? Yes. Was it the crew? Possibly. Was it the design? Maybe. Was it the refit? Perhaps. Was it all of the above? Probably. But probably is not certainty. And without certainty, there is no closure. So the families are left with what they have: memories, grief, and the knowledge that 7 people died on a yacht that was supposed to be safe. In the yachting community, the Bayesian becomes a case study, a warning. Insurance premiums increase, safety audits become more rigorous, crew training is reviewed, but none of it brings anyone back. The sea does not care about hindsight. 1 year after the sinking, the trial has not yet begun. Delays, procedural motions, requests for additional evidence. The Italian legal system moves slowly, deliberately, and the lawyers on both sides are in no hurry. The prosecution wants its case airtight. The defense wants time to dismantle it. And so the process drags on. In the meantime, the questions multiply. Not in courtrooms, in conference rooms, in yacht clubs, in the offices of maritime insurers who are suddenly very interested in what happened off Porticello that night, because the Bayesian was insured for £37 million. That is approximately 42 million euros. And the insurer, a consortium led by Lloyd's of London, is facing a total loss claim. Total loss. That is the term. When a vessel is damaged beyond economical repair or lost entirely, it is declared a total loss. The owner, or in this case, the estate of Mike Lynch, files a claim. The insurer investigates, and if the claim is valid, the insurer pays. But validity is not guaranteed. Insurance policies contain exclusions, clauses that void coverage under certain circumstances. Negligence by the crew, for example, failure to maintain the vessel, operation outside approved parameters. Lloyd's assigns a team of investigators. They review the forensic reports, interview the crew, examine the maintenance records, and they find things. Small things, but in insurance, small things matter. The Bayesian's maintenance log shows that a routine inspection was due in July 2024. The inspection was scheduled but postponed. Reason given: owner preference. Lynch wanted to use the yacht in August, did not want it in dry dock during peak season. The inspection was rescheduled for September. The yacht sank in August. Did the missed inspection contribute to the sinking? Almost certainly not. The forensic examination found no mechanical defects, but the missed inspection is a violation of the insurance policy, which requires that all scheduled maintenance be completed on time. Lloyd's considers denying the claim on this basis, but their lawyers advise caution. The violation is minor. A court might rule it immaterial. And denying a claim in a case this high profile could damage Lloyd's reputation. Instead, they negotiate, offer a settlement. £30 million. £7 million less than the policy limit. Lynch's estate, represented by his widow Angela Baccaris, accepts. The case is closed. But the question lingers. If the inspection had been completed, would anyone have noticed anything? Would any recommendation have been made? Would the yacht have been in Palermo that week at all? Impossible to know. But in the calculus of disaster, these small decisions accumulate, each one insignificant, together catastrophic. The crew members under investigation are no longer working. The captain has not set foot on a yacht since August. He is living in Greece, where he owns a small house on a quiet island. He does not give interviews, does not appear in public. His lawyer releases occasional statements. The captain maintains his innocence. He acted appropriately. The storm was unforeseeable, but his career is over. No yacht owner will hire a captain under investigation for manslaughter, no matter the outcome of the trial. The association alone is toxic. The first mate has returned to New Zealand. He is working in a marine supply shop in Auckland, selling ropes and fenders and navigation charts to weekend sailors. It is a long way from the bridge of a 56-meter super yacht. But it is work. And work is a distraction. He does not talk about the Bayesian, not to customers, not to colleagues. But sometimes, late at night, he goes to the harbor, sits on a bench, watches the boats, the way they move on their moorings, the way the halyards tap against the masts in the wind. He thinks about that night, The suddenness of it. The way the wind went from calm to catastrophic in minutes. The way the yacht heeled and did not come back. The way he could hear people screaming below deck and could not reach them. He does not sleep well. The engineer has left the industry entirely. He is working in construction now. Dubai. High-rises. Air-conditioned towers that will never sink. He sends money to his family in the Philippines. Talks to them on video calls. Does not mention the investigation. Does not mention the nightmares. But his sister knows. She can see it in his face. The way his eyes move. The way he does not smile anymore. She asks him once if he is okay. He says yes. She does not believe him, but she does not press. Some things cannot be fixed with questions. In March 2025, a maritime safety conference is held in Monaco. 300 attendees, yacht captains, naval architects, insurers, regulators. The Bayesian is on the agenda. The session is titled Lessons from Recent Incidents. A euphemism. Everyone knows what incident they are discussing. A naval architect presents first. He walks through the technical findings, the hull integrity, the keel weight, the open hatches, the water ingress rate. He shows diagrams, simulations. The audience watches in silence. His conclusion, the sinking was preventable. If the crew had sealed the hatches at the first sign of heavy weather, the yacht would likely have survived. Likely. Not certainly, but likely. A captain in the audience raises his hand, asks a question. How much time did the crew have? Between the first alarm and the capsize. The architect checks his notes. 23 minutes. The captain nods, says that 23 minutes sounds like a lot. But in a storm, at night, with passengers on board, it is not. You have to wake people. Get them into life jackets. Secure loose items. Start the engine. Monitor instruments. Communicate with the crew. 23 minutes disappears fast. The architect concedes the point, but maintains that the hatches should have been sealed earlier, before the storm hit. Another voice from the audience, a meteorologist. She points out that the storm did not appear on any forecast, that downbursts are nearly impossible to predict, that expecting the crew to anticipate an event that meteorologists could not anticipate is unreasonable. The room divides. Half the attendees agree with the architect. The crew was negligent. Half agree with the meteorologist. The crew was unlucky. No consensus is reached. But a recommendation is drafted. All yachts operating in the Mediterranean during summer should implement enhanced weather monitoring, real-time satellite data, continuous radar scanning, automated alerts for rapid pressure changes. The recommendation is non-binding, but within 6 months, most major yacht management companies adopt it. Insurance companies begin requiring it as a condition of coverage. The industry changes, not because of regulation, because of fear. The families do not attend the conference. They are not interested in technical discussions. They want something else. In April, Angela Beccaris establishes a foundation, the Lynch Family Foundation. Its mission: to support education in data science and mathematics, scholarships for students from underprivileged backgrounds, funding for research, grants for teachers. The foundation is endowed with £20 million from Lynch's estate. It is managed by a board of trustees, former colleagues, friends, educators. The first scholarships are awarded in September 2025. 10 students. Each receives full tuition, room and board at a British university. The scholarship is renewable for 4 years. Conditional on academic performance. At the award ceremony, Angela Beccaris speaks briefly. She talks about Mike's passion for education, his belief that knowledge could change lives. She talks about Hannah, her intelligence, her curiosity, her potential. She does not mention the yacht, does not describe the sinking. Just says that Mike and Hannah believed in the power of learning, and that the foundation will ensure their belief lives on. The students listen. They are 18, 19 years old. The same age Hannah was. They do not fully understand what they represent. They are not meant to. They are just students, receiving an opportunity. But for Angela Baccaris, they are something more. They are the future that Hannah will never have. And by funding that future for others, she is keeping her daughter alive. In some small way. It is not enough. It will never be enough. But it is something. Jonathan Bloomer's family takes a different approach. In his memory, they establish a charitable fund focused on financial literacy, teaching young people how to manage money, how to invest, how to avoid debt. Bloomer spent his career in finance, made millions. But he also believed that financial knowledge should not be the privilege of the wealthy, that everyone, regardless of background, should understand how money works. The fund partners with schools in underprivileged areas, offers workshops, provides resources, brings in volunteers from the financial industry to teach. It is quiet work. Not glamorous, not headline-worthy, but effective. In the first year, the fund reaches 5,000 students. In the second year, 10,000. Bloomer's children are involved. They attend workshops, meet students, hear stories about how the program is changing lives. And in those moments, they feel close to their father again, doing the work he would have done, carrying forward his values. Judith Bloomer is remembered differently. She was not a public figure, did not have a career that lent itself to institutional legacy. But her friends and family describe her as kind, generous, someone who listened. In her memory, her sister establishes a small grant program for women over 50 pursuing creative projects, writing, art, music, projects that might not have commercial value, but have personal meaning. The grants are modest, a few £1,000s each, but they matter, because they give permission. Permission to pursue something that society often dismisses. Permission to create in the second half of life. The first grants are awarded in November 2025. 15 women, a poet, a painter, a sculptor, a filmmaker, a composer. Each one receives funding and a handwritten note. The note says simply, "Judith would have wanted you to create." It is a small legacy, but it is hers. Chris and Nida Morvillo are remembered together. Their families establish a joint foundation. Its focus: supporting artists and lawyers. An unusual combination, but it reflects who they were. Chris was a lawyer. Nida was an artist. They believed that both professions were essential, that justice and beauty were not opposites but complements. The foundation offers fellowships for young lawyers working in public interest law, for emerging artists working in underrepresented mediums. Each fellow receives a year of funding, no strings attached, just the freedom to work. The first fellows are announced in December 2025. A civil rights lawyer in Alabama, a jewelry designer in Brooklyn, a criminal defense attorney in London, a sculptor in Mexico City. They do not know each other, will likely never meet, but they are connected by the foundation, by the people it honors, by the belief that the world needs both advocates and artists. At the announcement ceremony, Chris Morvillo's law partner speaks. He talks about Chris's dedication, his brilliance, his humanity. He talks about the Lynch trial, the acquittal, the celebration that followed. And then he pauses, looks at the audience, says something unexpected. He says that Chris died doing what he loved, not lawyering, living, spending time with the people he cared about, enjoying the rewards of hard work, sailing on a beautiful yacht in a beautiful place with his wife beside him. He says that the tragedy is not that Chris died. The tragedy is that he died too soon, that he had more to give, more to do, more to experience. But he also says that Chris lived fully, that he did not waste his time, did not postpone joy. did not wait for the perfect moment. And in that, there is something to learn. The audience is silent. Some are crying, others are nodding. It is a strange kind of comfort, not the absence of pain, but the presence of meaning. Ricardo Thomas, the chef, is remembered by his colleagues. Chefs from super yachts around the world, they gather in Antigua, his birthplace, for a memorial service. Not formal, just a gathering. On the beach, at sunset. They cook. Of course they cook. That is how chefs mourn. They prepare his favorite dishes. Grilled fish, rice and peas, plantains, rum cake. They set up tables on the sand. Serve food to anyone who comes. Family, friends, strangers. Thomas worked on yachts for 30 years. Started as a deckhand. Worked his way up. Trained in kitchens in France, in Italy. Came back to the yachts because he loved the travel. The variety. The challenge of cooking in a galley the size of a closet and making it taste like a Michelin-starred restaurant. He was 59, planning to retire in a few years. Buy a small restaurant in Antigua. Serve tourists and locals. Spend his evenings fishing. He never got the chance. His family receives his final paycheck, 4,000 euros, 2 weeks' salary, and a letter from the yacht management company, expressing condolences, offering support. They do not sue, do not demand compensation, just accept the money, bury their son, and try to move on. But his colleagues do not forget. They establish a scholarship in his name. For young people in the Caribbean interested in culinary arts, the scholarship covers tuition at cooking school, internships on yachts, job placement. It is small, helps maybe 5 students a year, but it keeps his name alive. And in the tight-knit world of yacht chefs, that matters. By mid-2025, the Bayesian itself is gone. After the forensic examination, the yacht is sold for scrap. The hull is cut apart. The aluminum is melted down, recycled, turned into something else. Car parts, building materials, bicycle frames. The teak decks are salvaged, sold to a reclamation yard in Genoa. Some of it ends up in luxury apartments, flooring, paneling, expensive, beautiful. No one who buys it knows where it came from. The mast, 75 meters of aluminum, is too damaged to reuse. It is scrapped, melted, dissolved into raw material. The interior furnishings, Hermes leather, Armani fabrics, custom furniture are destroyed. Too waterlogged, too damaged, too contaminated by the sea. Within 6 months, there is nothing left. No physical trace, just photographs, videos, reports, and memory. The people who sailed on her remember. The crew who maintained her. The guests who enjoyed her. They remember the way the teak felt underfoot. The way the salon glowed in the evening light. The way the yacht moved through the water, silent and fast. But those memories are fading, because memory is not static. It changes, distorts. After a year, you do not remember the thing itself. You remember your memory of the thing. And the memory smooths out the details, softens the edges, until what you remember is not the yacht, but the idea of the yacht. And eventually, even that fades. In June 2025, the trial begins. The courthouse in Termini Imerese is small, built in the 1960s, concrete, functional, not designed for high-profile cases. But this is where jurisdiction falls, where the Bayesian sank, where the bodies were recovered. The courtroom holds perhaps 50 people. Most days it is full. Journalists, families, observers. The 3 defendants sit at a table in the front. The captain, the first mate, the engineer. They do not look at each other, do not speak. The prosecution presents its case over 3 weeks. Forensic experts, meteorologists, naval architects, each one walking the court through the evidence. The open hatches, the delayed response, the water ingress, the conclusion. The crew was negligent. They failed to prepare the yacht for heavy weather. They failed to act promptly, and because of that, 7 people died. The defense counters. They bring their own experts. Meteorologists who explain downbursts. Captains who describe the challenges of managing a crisis at sea. Naval architects who argue that no amount of preparation could have saved the yacht in those conditions. The trial drags on. Weeks become months. The courtroom empties. Journalists lose interest, move on to other stories. The families stop attending. They have heard enough, seen enough. In October 2025, the verdict is delivered. The captain, guilty of manslaughter. Sentenced to 4 years in prison. Suspended. Meaning he will not serve time unless he commits another crime. The first mate, guilty of manslaughter. Sentenced to 3 years. Suspended. The engineer, not guilty. Insufficient evidence of negligence. The courtroom is silent. The defendants do not react. Just stand. Nod. Sit. Outside, the captain's lawyer speaks to the press. Calls the verdict a miscarriage of justice. Says they will appeal. The families release a statement. It is brief. They are grateful for the court's attention. But no verdict can bring back their loved ones. They ask for privacy, and that is it. The trial ends. The case closes. The story fades from the headlines. 1 year later, in August 2026, a small ceremony is held off Porticello. A boat, 20 people, family members of the victims, a priest. They sail to the spot where the Bayesian sank. The coordinates are known, logged, exact. The sea is calm. The sky is clear. The kind of day that makes it hard to believe anything bad ever happened here. The priest says a prayer, in Italian, then in English, then in silence. Flowers are thrown into the water. White roses. They float on the surface for a moment, then drift apart, carried by the current. Angela Baccharis is there. She does not speak, just stands at the rail, looking down at the water. 50 meters below, the seabed, where the Bayesian rested for weeks before being raised, where her husband and daughter drowned. She does not cry. She cried for months. There are no tears left, just a hollow ache, a space where they used to be. The boat turns, heads back to shore. The flowers drift away. By evening, they will be scattered across kilometers of sea. By tomorrow, they will be gone. But the people on the boat will remember. They will remember this moment, this place, this loss. And in remembering, they will keep the dead alive, not as they were at the end, trapped, drowning, terrified, but as they were before. Mike Lynch, brilliant and resilient. Hannah, young and full of potential. Jonathan and Judith Bloomer, devoted and generous. Chris and Nita Morvillo, passionate and creative. Ricardo Thomas, skilled and kind. 7 people, 7 lives. Ended in 16 minutes, but lived fully before that. That is the legacy. Not the sinking, not the trial, not the investigations or the reports or the insurance settlements. The legacy is the lives, the work they did, the people they loved, the things they believed in. And the lesson, if there is one, is this. The sea does not care about your accomplishments, does not care about your wealth or your power or your plans. The sea is indifferent. It will take you if the conditions align, if the wind blows wrong, if the water finds a way in. You cannot calculate your way out of that. Cannot buy safety. Cannot guarantee survival. All you can do is live. Fully. Intentionally. With the people who matter. Because the sea is always waiting. And when it comes for you, it comes fast. The Bayesian is gone. The people are gone. But the story remains. And in the end, that is all any of us leave behind.